Okay guys, welcome back. It is the third video in the VinceBar and front gusset cup series, the sort of overview thing. I'm doing this as one takes because I don't really have a lot of time to produce and to edit and stuff like that. So bear with me. This gave me an opportunity to, even though this was about really, was supposed to be about the front gusset cups, number 3, the third video, I accidentally turned off the camera when I was one-handed installing the VinceBar. The reason I did that is I wanted to show you how I use a wheel bolt to clamp down the VinceBar during the sort of the final installation where everything is going locked down and the epoxy is on and the rivets are going in and all that stuff. So let me see if I can do this without turning off the camera this time. This gave me the opportunity to go and get one of these patch plates. I got the opportunity to show you that as well. This patch plate, it sits when you install the epoxy rivet kit. You do not have to weld this. Well, actually I designed it so you don't need to use a welder. Make sure that you have stock drilled so you have round nice holes so you don't have crack propagation going on there. You have cut this down, you flattened it, you surface prepped, you made it as flat as possible. Actually, you may want to pull this up using a screw to make as flat surface as possible. You surface prep both this and the other side, you have epoxy on it, then you place it like that to cover those slots that you cut. The reason it has this kind of a, the reason it has that brown kind of thing there is that I was reckoning that you will not be able to cut that T all the way in because of this in the way. So you can drill it sort of from an angle and then you can cut with a Dremel underneath sort of up to there. And that's why I designed it that way, okay? It's also cut over here. So we keep this hole open in order if you want to add the expanding foam, the cavity foam that BMW. So I don't know, that's a long story, I won't even go there. But if you wanted to get to that cavity, you can do that even when you have installed the VinceBar. So final attempt to do that one-handed. This time it went better. So wheel bolts down there, clamp it down. You have the epoxy and everything. You clamp it down. Well, actually, you do that when you drill the holes as well. Sorry, that's a good point. You want to get it as deep as possible, and then you do the riveting and all that stuff. And again, this here, that hole gives you access to the cavity down beneath. Okay, so with that said, well, actually, the slot that I said, that covering plate, when you do the weld installation, you obviously weld that shut because you have a welder. So let's move forward and look at the front gusset cups. They come in 2 different flavors. Again, the epoxy rivet one and the weld one. Only difference, smaller holes, larger, these are rivet holes obviously, and these are plug weld holes. And I added a few extra holes as well because I really want this skin here to, as tightly as possible, adhere to the inside, the under seat floor, and not just the perimeter. You don't want to just weld the perimeter. Sorry, you don't want to weld just the perimeter. You want it to adhere, sort of stick to as much as the surface as possible. With the epoxy rivet version, obviously, you have this whole surface that you have the epoxy applied to, and it's going to stick to the whole surface here as well, and you're going to clamp it together using the rivets. And I kind of wanted to mimic that for the weld version with the plug welds. Okay, with that said, those are really the only differences. So if you were unsure which kit you wanted, you can always buy an epoxy rivet one and then drill extra holes. That also applies for the bar as well. They're identical in other than the holes. Okay, so moving inside my workbench platform. Again, lots of extra holes and stuff here. These I have drilled just to get inside of here and look at the inside of the cavity, what that sort of threaded mount looks like really. Sort of a mushroom towards the top. And then there's a sort of base platform down here. This channel kind of thing here, that's, I guess that's for making it stiffer, really. But unfortunately, it creates a cavity in between the mount and the skin, the outside skin. This cavity is right beneath where the rubber lip of the front mounts hit. So that's why they can dent it. If it were against the mount itself, it would never dent the underside. It's interesting. I usually fill this cavity with epoxy when I do the epoxy version. Okay, so in your car, when you pull out the seat, you will obviously not see all these holes. You will have the sound deadener over here as well. This here is for the rear seats rest kind of thing, the hinge there. So the first thing you will have done is, let's see if you will have your 10.5 millimeter drill bit, and you will have from the underside, let's see if I can find that using one hand. Okay, you will drill up through the mount. Those last threaded piece there, that's usually solid. You will drill through that. You will drill further up through the actual floor. And when you do this, you want to have a fairly high speed, well, normal speed through here, but here you will go fairly high speed and low feed. You don't want to press it through. You want to sort of drill as nice hole as you can through this skin here. So you will end up with a hole like that. Oops. Now you want to open up this hole. You just have a small hole here. Enter the tooling kit. This is the bore, the hole saw, and the drilling guide rod. This is a stainless steel rod, so it's really stiff and nice. You apply it from up top, through the hole you drilled here, into the mount. And then again, with fairly high speed, you will drill and you will feed as little as possible and try to hold it as still as possible. This is not an exact fit, so it will wiggle a little bit, but try to keep it rearwards and sort of sidewards, and it will pull to one side obviously because of the cutting. You can go down about there, I think, and then it stops. Then you will have to pull it up. You will need to bend out the piece that goes up there, and then you can drill down that last part there. You will have a really nice hole to fit your gusset cup. There's also a ridge. I have already prepped this, but down here, there's a sort of a formed ridge that sticks up. You will need something like this to sort of just punch that down, so you get a flat surface here. In this case, this is a 320 that lived a sort of non-abused life, so there's no cracks at all here. But in most cases, just any case I have, any car, even the most pristine M3 I've looked at, you will see cracks here. So these are MIG welds, one there and one there, that tie this piece of the structure, this skin, to the top of this mount here. This plate and the mount, remember how I was talking about how the front of the subframe is punching up and down like this. It's moving this whole thing inside of there. So these welds crack. Well, actually the welds don't crack, the material around them crack. So you can have cracks going out in all sorts of different directions here. You want to stop drill them. If you're welding, you will also weld those, and then you will grind everything flat. If you're doing the epoxy rivet version, you will make sure you stop drill the holes, the cracks. You will grind down the MIG welds, and then you will also surface prep this surface area as well. You will, in both cases, both weld and epoxy rivet, you will you place your gusset cup down into the hole. using a felt pen or something, you will mark an area around it. You need to cut out some of this sound deadening. I usually use a chisel because that makes the least mess, and then I sort of scrape it off. And then this is now rusted, but you can sort of make out, no, you can't really, it's too rusted. I have surface prepped it by, well actually, you will be taking off the sound deadening and you will clean the area as clean as you can get it with, for instance, brake cleaner. Then you will grind off the paint and you will make the surface rough. I typically strive for something like this surface. See if I have something that's even closer to what I want. Here you go. See how that surface is rough? I use the angle grinder, and then rather than putting the disc on like that, I put it on like this and I let it bounce. I do the same thing around the whole area, so we sort of have a really rough surface here. Same thing here, sort of have it bounce. That's what I've done here. I had it bounce and crisscross, but it's been outside and rusted badly, so you can't really see it. And you kind of get that rough surface here as well. So then you apply epoxy to the whole surface here. The underside, you stick your, well actually, sorry, once again, skipped the part. When you test install it, before you do the surface prepping, you get it in there. You use, once again, a wheel bolt. I don't have one here, but you stick a wheel bolt in here, you screw that down, you secure it, you drill the holes, and it actually shows better over here. See how this area here, sort of, you know, the material bends away. So stick it in there, screw it there. Now use a hammer, and you hammer this down to get it to be formed, you know, to follow that surface, obviously. And then you drill the holes. Then you take it out, do the surface prepping, apply the epoxy, put it back in, put the wheel bolt in, and rivets. And also, once again, skipping out, when you do the test fitting, you want to make sure that you get as close, you know, fit as possible. I've done these pre-formed, but I suppose there's a bit of variation from car to car. So make sure you get these to fit as tight as possible. If you need to bend these a little bit extra, that's what you do. And then you want to pull this. Again, this is really thin metal. So you want to pull this out like this. So when you stick the gusset cut in, it sort of presses it down. You want, again, the best possible press fit you can get between these layers. The rivets will help you, but if you can help them along, that's really the best. Okay, that's a bit, but yeah, again, if you have the epoxy rivet version and you have epoxy down here, when you stick it in, you want to, you know, you get as much epoxy out of the threads as you can. You stick in your wheel bolt, you screw it in, you do the riveting and all that stuff. Let it sit for a while, and then just, in order to, you know, make sure that the wheel bolt doesn't get permanently glued into the threaded hole, just unscrew it ever so slightly and screw it back in, you know, once in a while during the curing time. I think that kind of covered it all, mostly. If not, there's going to be some links in the description, and you are most welcome to send me any questions if you have any. Thank you very much.